Whenever the NAACP began to take off, you had men like W.E.B. Du Bois trying to make a name for themselves. In order to make a name for themselves, they needed to sabotage men like Booker T. Washington, who had influence.
Unfortunately, it's only a Negro minority of intellectuals and leftist Negro preachers who presume to speak for all of the Negro people. They try to silence all opposition by calling anybody who disagrees with them Uncle Tom.
They want to disparage Booker T. Washington as the Uncle Tom. Booker T. Washington is this ultimate picture of the black person who gives the white people what they want and lets them off the hook. And W.E.B. Du Bois is this hero because he airs the grievances and he calls white people to account.
Which is interesting because he was born to freed men. He was born well off. He didn't know what it was like to be raised in the South. Booker T. Washington was born and raised in the South. He was born into slavery. There was a way of simplicity about Washington. He was a very confident man. He was a man of faith. Du Bois was an atheist, very troubled and very paranoid. He was educated at Harvard, where he was trained to look with disdain at Western civilization and at capitalism in particular. And he saw Booker T. Washington as his intellectual enemy because Washington pushed utilizing capitalism instead of trying to do away with it.
You will find it true, not only in this country, but in other countries, that the demand will be more and more for people who can do something. Regardless of color or condition, the world is going to give the places of trust and remuneration to men and women who can do a certain thing as well as anybody else or better. Just in proportion as we do this, you will find that nothing under the sun will keep us back.
I was able to look at this book called Harlem, A Century in Images. It gives you a timeline from its inception to its collapse. From the beginning, whether it's the kids in the classroom, the way that the people are dressed, the business owners, you see this classiness, that they're well put together, that they're self-respect, that they're dignified people. And then somewhere down the road, you have new players on the scene, preaching a certain message, a certain agitative, militant message. The faces go from being delighted, happy, and hopeful to all of a sudden being angry. The book captures, probably unknowingly, the story of Harlem.
Ideas have consequences. And if you follow these ideas through, what you get is the W.E.B. Du Bois story.
Many of us believe and hope that socialism will and must come to this land. We see no other way. But scores of others do not believe this, and that's their right. They have, however, no right to prevent the truth about socialism from being told. They have no right
Socialism.
to prevent students from studying the remarkable philosophy of Karl Marx.
Begging somebody to accept you, to love you. That's his legacy. You had black power in Harlem. You legitimately had that. What Booker T. Washington and his faction was able to build, W.E.B. Du Bois and his faction destroyed. That's the reality of Black Harlem.
Communists have planted the idea, don't do anything for yourself. Just get out there and fight and yell and scream and demand everything.
That spirit was implanted in them by W.E.B. Du Bois, who was positioned by white socialists.
Lashing civilization into niggers with drip of blood and roar of
He was doing the same things in his time.
There are only two ways to explain why black people were enslaved and white people...
As Ibram X. Kendi and others are doing today.
Fear is one of the dominant emotions of the black experience. Fear.
Selling out black people.
Out of the ashes of white denigration, we gave birth to ourselves.
For prestige. Doing what he's told.
But stop the spreading of lies about the socialist world.
Securing power for socialist demagogues.
As Americans, you have a right, a legal and constitutional right, to call yourselves communists.